We probably should call it a hop kiln. I don't know whether anybody actually over here calls it
an ost, yeah.
But, and it's potato, ost or ost.
But we've had people who live in Ranelagh and never have even noticed the building.
It's the only one that's open to the public.
Yeah.
In Tasmania and therefore in Australia, essentially.
I'm Carolyn Holmes. We're sitting in the middle of what used to be a working ost house, which we've converted into an eatery. This was never our intent for it to be a restaurant to start off with. It was always supposed to be sort of like an event space. But with all the work that's gone into it, it needed to be open to the public. Otherwise, like a lot of other ost houses, it would have fallen to the ground. It has an atmosphere that can draw people in. A building that's been within the landscape since about the 1860s. Yeah, it's just a really marvellous space and people love coming to it. They really enjoy the space. They love the food. Food's really good.
Hi, I'm Graham Holmes. I'm Carolyn's other half. Tasmania represents to us a sea change. One of the briefs was to come down here was we'd get a heritage property because that's what we're passionate about, heritage. To me particularly, Tasmania's ost houses are the equivalent to England's castles. They need to be saved. They're lovely buildings, they're unique. There's always a kiln for drying, and then you have, this was originally a barn, it was raised, had 2 additional floors put in, so you have 2 drying floors and a packing floor. So that's the function, purely just to dry hops for the beer manufacturing.
Most probably where we're sitting, there's most probably always been a barn here. When the old church burnt down before the new one was built across the road, they actually used to use this as for church services until that was built. Yeah, and the kiln was built between 1911 and 1912 when it went into commission. It's reinvented itself, and it's like the Frankham family did too. They're original apple growers, and then went into hop growing and apple growing still at the same time. But, you know, I know we've just got the ost house here, but it's the whole estate. And originally it was always called Clifton from the start. And that was, we believe that maybe the original Frankham came from a place called Clifton.
This is another classic transported convict makes good story. Thomas Frankham. Thomas was sentenced to 20 years transportation. By the second generation, what some of the materials I've read suggests that they were the largest apple and hop growers in Tasmania.
From sort of convict descent to having the Queen, showing the Queen around as well, because the Queen actually came to the property, but she inspected where they were doing the packing in the packer shed where Nina Patina is at the moment. So she went through there and wandered through the grounds and things like that. So the Queen has been to the site.
Part of the history is the original pickers of the day were the people who lived in Hobart. Whole families would get up and come out here for the picking season. They'd all leave barrel out of Hobart or forever, and they'd gather around, live in a picker's hut and have something on a spit that evening or something like that.
And we've had people come in who used to do that when they were children. They've been through it and they used to live down in the village and they've picked and they've come here and they just said, you know, it was just so like walking down memory lane. The living history that occurred, and with us doing the renovation and making really a public space, they're coming in and they're revisiting what they used to do and they thoroughly enjoy it. Having local is very important, but being a small local area for a business like this, we also need tourists to be able to come in, people from Hobart to come in, but locals are very important because it is a local building. The Valley's a fantastic place. It's beautiful. We're just one of the stops for the Valley, yeah. And I think hopefully adding something to the Valley might bring more people down into the Valley because we need people down here. Our chef is one of the biggest ticks that we've done. Yeah. Jo is very passionate about her food. She's passionate about the space that we've got, and she's very passionate about the staff that work for us. Her menu is very diverse, which reflects the diversity of the staff. When Jo first started, they actually went out and met the producers. We try very hard to use local produce, and local staff. It's just the way it is. We should be a place for people to come and share food. And that's why originally I've got this really big long table up the top. It's a place for sharing. We can still make our living from it, but also be part of the community.
The history of Clifton was a very important part of the valley's history, and even of if they really were the size of the producers of hops and apples that I believe I've read, of Tasmania's history too, in a way.
So we aren't the only hop kiln in the valley.
Yeah, we're the only one with character. We'd love to hear from people who have some stories to tell about it, because we're really interested.